Hey, everybody. I'm Yvette Nicole Brown in my Caregiver Strong sweatshirt. I want to welcome all you caregivers out there. I am one of you. I have been the proud caregiver for my dad, Omar, for 11 years now. Caregivers for Harris is for all of us who need care, rely on care, and give care in our lives, which is all of us. So don't worry about it if you're not a caregiver right now. This space is still for you. Now, we're gathered because we have a critical election coming up, and the future of care is at stake. Now, on the one hand, we've got a real care champion running for president at the top of the ticket, Vice President Kamala Harris, someone who has dedicated her life to making our country, our economy, our families, and our communities stronger. Now, as a Black woman and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I see myself in Vice President Harris. I support her, though, because she's a lifelong public servant. She is principled, she cares about others, and she chose the most delightful human being to be her running mate. That's right. I'm talking about the human ball of joy, Governor Tim Walz, who has championed some of the best care policy in the country as governor of Minnesota. VP Harris and Governor Walz have shown up for us as caregivers. Now it's time to show up for them, because showing up for them is really showing up for us. Now we're launching Caregivers for Harris as a grassroots organizing campaign because we know each of you is connected to other circles of friends, family, and caregivers. Together, we have so much power. This is our moment to show our power and put the Harris-Walz ticket in the White House. Now, the best part about electing them is that we have folks just like us leading the country. They understand working a minimum wage job, serving their country, even working the lunchroom of a high school. None of these jobs are easy, just as caregiving is not easy. They get it. Now, I'm going to hand the program over to two leaders who are fighting for moms and caregivers every day, Kristen Rowe Fink-Biner and Ai-jen Poo. But first, we're going to start the way we should, with Vice President Harris herself. Allow me to introduce the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
We are here today because we are clear-eyed about the stakes of this moment. We face a choice between two very different visions for our nation. One focused on the future, the other focused on the past. And we in this room are fighting for the future. A future with affordable health care, affordable childcare, and paid leave. Care work is physical work. It is emotional work. As Governor, Tim has continued to fight for working families. He secured paid leave for workers in Minnesota. Let us continue to fight to make real the promise of America. These are the things we stand for. Are you ready to fight for the dignity of all working people? Are you ready to fight for the promise of America? When we fight, we win.
Ooh, that video. Thank you so much, Yvette, for kicking us off with such powerful words and inspiration as always. Speaking of inspiration, every time I listen to Vice President Harris speak about her agenda, I literally get chills. She's talking about affordable quality childcare, about paid family and medical leave, about care and dignity for older people and people with disabilities, parents and workers, including our care workers. This is the Harris-Walz agenda. And it's like they're in our kitchens listening. There's not a kitchen table in America where families aren't talking about the cost of care and how we're going to manage what we have to do to work and pay the bills on top of caring for the people we love. Between the two of us, me and Kristen, we've spent decades, literally decades, fighting for this agenda because it's so important to us and to all the moms, the workers, the caregivers, and the families we represent. And it feels amazing to have champions like Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, who each have a proven track record of fighting for these policies and delivering. Every one of us is touched by care, and voters need to know that care is on the ballot in November. A lot of people don't know, and that's what Caregivers for Harris is all about. We have 81 days to let every single voter know that there's only one ticket, the Harris-Walz ticket, that is fighting for our ability to live and work and care with freedom and dignity. They are fighting for our future, and we won't go back.
I join iGen and all of you in excitement about the powerful and, dare I say, joyful candidates that we're lifting with our voices and, importantly, with our votes. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. When my son was born, he had a primary immune deficiency, and I, like millions of people in America, didn't have any paid family medical leave. So I lost my job. To say it was isolating and, well, absolutely scary is an understatement. And as isolating as it was, I am so far from being alone in this experience. This type of experience happens every day in all kinds of ways. What we have with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz is a path to solutions. They know our care infrastructure is broken, and they also know it doesn't have to be this way. They have a strong record of working to fix the barriers that families and caregivers across the nation are facing. That means fixing that childcare costs more than college, fixing that we're one of only 7 nations in the world without paid family medical leave for when a new baby arrives or a serious health crisis strikes, fixing that care workers are currently shamefully underpaid, and that we're all losing out. We need Vice President Harris and Governor because our economy is taking a hit without the care infrastructure we all need. Businesses are losing valued employees as people are unnecessarily pushed out of their jobs. That's the bad news. The good news is that solutions are possible that boost our businesses, our families, and our economy alike. And these solutions have long been fought for by Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. So now it's time for us to fight for them. Fighting for Harris and Walz means getting on Zoom like this right now. Thank you. Volunteering, spreading the word with neighbors, and it can also mean donating our dollars. Today, we're launching carewins.org for our donations to go directly to Vice President Kamala Harris to help show our power together and to help show just how many people care about care. It's a highly effective way to move change. Whether you donate $5 or $500, 100% of your carewins.org donation goes directly to the candidate. And also, it puts all of our donations together so that we together are even more powerful than any of us alone. So take a look at carewins.org, and of course, feel free to share carewins.org far and wide too. Together, we are unstoppable. And speaking of together, our stories are so important. They show that we're not alone, show the path to solutions, and our stories give us visibility into our power overall the movement. You've just heard my story. Now I want to introduce you to Tori Snyder. Tori is one of the over 1,044,000 strong, courageous, resourceful, and active members of Moms Rising, and is a single mom who lives in Pittsburgh with her young son, Braxton. Tori, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Can you share a little bit about what the last couple of years have been like for you and for your family, which gives us an eye into why these solutions that Vice President Harris is lifting are so desperately needed?
Thank you, Kristen. I'm so proud to be a member of Moms Rising and honored to share my story tonight. I'm a sandwich generation mom with sole physical and financial responsibility for my son, and the pandemic was really hard on our family. During COVID, Braxton was diagnosed with on the autism spectrum, and he needed occupational, speech, and behavioral therapy. I also cared for my grandmother who got COVID during that time and spent months going in and out of the hospital. And my mom also sustained an injury during that time. I had no money coming in because I was out of work, and there was no way or nowhere to send Braxton for daycare because everything was closed. During all of this, my biggest fear was what would happen if I got COVID. I couldn't get sick. I couldn't get hurt because if I did, I wouldn't be able to work, and then I wouldn't be able to support my family. And then what would happen? I lived in fear and the what ifs, and to some extent, I still do.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm so sorry. These past couple of years have been especially hard on single parents. How are you doing now? What's happening?
Well, Braxton's doing really great. He starts first grade next week. He just finished kindergarten, and he's just the best big guy ever. I recently took a full-time job, because I needed medical benefits, and so did Braxton. But that job doesn't provide paid leave for all. So I still worry about the what if my mom gets sick or my son gets sick or if something happens to me. Because of that, I still have to save all of my PTO time for a what if scenario instead of using it for vacation, which gives me a little bit of mom guilt on that end, but also to kind of stick around if I need it for family sick days. I know I'm not the only mom, especially single moms, that are feeling this, that are feeling the exhaustion, the overwork, and are fearful of what's going to happen. If paid leave was granted, I would know that if I had to take time off to care for my family, we would not go into debt or lose our home.
And I think it's really important. We've seen a lot of leadership who have been pushing for the care infrastructure on the side of Democrats, including Vice President Harris. And we've seen that Republicans have been time and time again standing against us building the care infrastructure that we all need. Mm-hmm. Which lawmakers have you seen understand the challenges that moms are facing?
I had the distinct privilege of being able to testify before the House Ways and Means Committee. And it was very clear that Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz and my own Senator Bob Casey are committed to the policies that single moms like me are needed. That includes paid leave for all, affordable childcare, home and community-based services, an expanded child tax credit, and coverage that addresses our healthcare needs. That's why I'm excited to be here tonight. That's why I'm excited to support the Harris and Walz ticket. This election offers the promise of progress for moms and families and for our country. And that's why I plan to donate $10 tonight to the campaign and to volunteer my time to speak for Moms Rising and to tell other single moms and caregivers what's at stake in this election. Thank you for the chance to share my story.
Thank you so much, Tori. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Standing ovation from across the country. Now it's my great honor to introduce Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Through her amazing career, Nancy Pelosi has been a trailblazer, a champion, and a hero for moms, families, caregivers, and actually for our entire democracy. She's been the leader our country has needed in the toughest times, and historians are already calling her, as they should, the greatest Speaker of the House in the history of our nation. Without further delay, we present our champion.
Hi everyone, it's Nancy. Greetings to the Care Can't Wait Coalition and all caregivers for Harris-Walz on the call tonight. I'm so excited to join the caregivers organizing call to elect Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz as the next President and Vice President of the United States. All of us in Congress who have known and worked with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz know that here is a key priority for them. Proudly representing a district he turned from red to blue, Tim Walz courageously voted for the Affordable Care Act and was reelected. And Vice President Harris cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate for the American Rescue Plan, which included historic funding for caregiver during the COVID emergency, passing without one Republican vote in the House or Senate. Throughout their service in elective office, Kamala and Tim have championed investments in caregiving and in caregivers, including support for the ability of caregivers to organize for the better pay, benefits, respect, and dignity they have earned. Champions of caregivers have long known it, but it became clear to the rest of our country during the pandemic that caregiving is critical work that allows everyone else to work. Democrats are committed to keep bringing down the cost of care for America's families with transformative investments in our care economy. Investing in our care economy is also key to ensuring the full and equitable participation of women in America's prosperity. As women of color are disproportionately represented among caregivers, our investments can also start to address the gender and racial pay and wealth gap in our country. And our new President and Vice President of the United States in 2025, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, working with Democratic majorities in the House and Senate, will answer the call to prioritize childcare, elder care, and home and community-based health care, bigger paychecks and benefits for caregivers, paid family and medical leave, and an expanded child tax credit to give families some breathing room. All of us on this call have made a decision to win in November, and now we must make every other decision in favor of winning. The excitement and joy for our Democratic ticket across the country is thrilling to behold. Now we have to put one good day for Democrats in front of the other, all the way to November 5th. Winning will not be easy, but we don't agonize, we organize, and we unionize. Thank you all for fighting for our values and for working to elect Harris-Walz, grow our Senate majority, and win back the House for the people this November. Onward to a great Democratic victory. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Yvette again. I now have the great honor of introducing a fellow soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Representative Nikema Williams of the Fighting Fifth District of Georgia. Representative Williams holds the congressional seat of her mentor, the amazing creator of Good Trouble himself, the late, great John Lewis. She is also a mom of Carter, who she will probably tell you about, and she has spent her life fighting for working families and for civil rights, voting rights, reproductive freedom, and for care. She's going to tell you more about why she supports the Harris-Walz for President campaign. Hey, Soror.
Hello. It is so good to be on with you tonight and so many of my friends in this movement because y'all cannot wait. I am Congresswoman Nikema Williams, and y'all, this was so important for me that it looks like I'm in a haunted house, but I'm in the back of a car, just landed. But I had to join you tonight and all of the thousands of caregivers across this country who are this country. If you saw the rally that was down in Battleground, Georgia, you will know that Atlanta was a whole vibe. But as much as we see the excitement, we understand the very serious policies that the Harris-Walz administration fights for and will be indicative of when they are elected to office. So just a little bit of, you mentioned my Carter cakes, Yvette, and my baby, he started kindergarten during COVID. Imagine being a kindergarten in 2020 when you're learning to do all of these things like social skills and tie your shoes. You can't really do that on a Zoom. And mommy had a job and so did daddy. And we needed someone to help us to make sure that Carter got all of those foundational things. And we were grateful to have Miss Betty. Miss Betty came and helped us out because as hard as kindergarten was for a 5-year-old, it was much, much harder for a 40-year-old. And I am so grateful for Miss Betty and the way she took care of my baby so that Leslie and I could go to work. But it didn't stop there. Long before there was a Carter Cakes in my life, I was a caregiver for my mom as she was struggling with end-stage cancer. And I actually had to leave my job. I quit my job and moved back to Sweet Home, Alabama, so that I could be there to give her the care that she needed because we could not afford the difference between what was being reimbursed and what it actually cost to provide her the care. So I showed up, but that meant that I wasn't working. It meant that I was no longer paying into my retirement, and it meant me leaving the workforce. And I was willing to do that, but we should not have to make those decisions in this country. We can make these decisions in a different way by electing leaders who will create policies so that we don't have to make these tough decisions and quitting jobs just to be there for our family in their times of need. That is why I'm fighting every day for the care economy in Congress. That is why everything that I can do between now and November 5th, I will be doing it, even if it is sitting back of a car on the way from the airport, because y'all, I know that care cannot wait. Care work makes every other work possible. So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your commitment to caregivers across this country. Y'all, we've got a lot to do, but we know that we can do it together because we do this every day as caregivers. We step up to be there for our family members, and that's what these elections are about. It's about being there for our family members. It's about electing leaders to change the policies, and we can do it, y'all. We have, 82 days? We can do anything for 82 days. And I'm going to be in this fight with you. And I am so proud to count you all as co-conspirators for justice as we do this work together. Let's go, y'all.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Oh, what a thrill to follow you. I am so honored to be here. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am Alana Hung. I am the Executive Director and co-founder of Little Obvious, which is a family-led group advocating for children with complex medical needs and disabilities. And I am also a proud mom and caregiver to my amazing daughter, Xiomara, who is the joy of my life. Xiomara was born with a number of serious medical conditions. I'm happy to say that she just celebrated her 10th birthday this summer, and she is getting ready to start 4th grade. These are 2 milestones that were never, ever promised to a medically complex and disabled child like her. So I tell you, for the past decade, I have been a single issue voter. And that issue, my daughter. I enthusiastically vote for whoever fights for Xiomara to survive and thrive. And not just Xiomara, but all kids with disabilities like her. They deserve a shot at childhood. They deserve to live at home and grow up in their communities. They deserve fully funded home and community-based services. Kamala Harris has been by our side, defending the Affordable Care Act when she was a U.S. Senator and leading the care agenda in the Biden administration as our vice president. She listens, she understands, and she has lived our lives. Kamala Harris was a caregiver to her mother when she was diagnosed with cancer. She gets it. She gets it. That's what we want in our leaders. And at Little Lobbyists, we were so excited to learn that Tim Walz is also one of us. He is a caregiver. He has a wonderful son, Goss, who has a learning disability. So Tim knows firsthand the joys and the challenges of parenting a disabled child. He is a supportive father who has lived our lives. He doesn't just understand, he really understands what it is like to be a caregiver to a disabled child. I am supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I know with them, disabled kids will not be forgotten. Kamala and Tim, they listen, they understand, they get it. Now, I will do everything I can to ensure their victory, because their victory is a victory for my daughter, and it is a victory for medically complex kids like her. So I ask you, join me. I know that together we can ensure a victory for our disabled children, our disabled caregivers, and our disabled friends everywhere. So let's do this. And now let's hear from my very dear friend and fellow Little Obvious mom, Jamie Davis Smith. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, my name is Jamie Davis Smith, and I am so excited to be here with you and Vice President Harris tonight. I am the mom of 4 great kids, including my daughter, Claire, who has complex medical needs and disabilities. I am her primary caregiver, and I also help provide care for my father, who has stage 4 cancer. A couple of years ago, Vice President Harris came to my house and sat at my kitchen table with me for over an hour to discuss the issues and challenges that I face as a caregiver to my daughter and to my father. We had a great conversation, and I really felt that she understood both the challenges that caregivers face in this country, as well as concrete solutions that we need to make our lives easier so that we can continue to work and provide care for our loved ones for the long term. When Vice President Harris left, I was so excited that she had spent that much time with us. She was fantastic with my kids. I knew that she really understood the challenges that I face, that caregivers face across the country, from how hard it is to get kids to do homework to the infrastructure that people with disabilities need to stay in their home and the support that caregivers like me need. And when she left, I was so excited to one day get the opportunity to vote for her for President of the United States. And this November, I'm going to have that chance. And I am so excited to support Vice President Harris and to vote for her for president in November.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fatima Goss Graves. I am a lawyer and an advocate, and in my day job, I lead the National Women's Law Center's Action Fund. And I'm also a mom to 2 kids who are somehow now a tween and a teen. So if you know that life, you know that life. But honestly, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about care, how to find it, how to support the caregiver in our lives who makes our lives work, how my sisters and I will care for our aging parents and more. And really, that's why I could not be more excited that VP Harris and Governor Walz have put care at the very center of their campaign. It's like they had heard the new moms who were struggling without paid leave. And it's like they've been hearing the frustrations from care workers who are providing critical care with pay that was so very low, they couldn't afford to stay in jobs that they loved. And it's like they heard from the families like me who languished on child care wait lists. And they have shown up with their policy over the time. I'm sure you will hear more about the details of their record tonight. Governor Walz's long record, the VP's long record in California, in the Senate, and as VP. But I just want to name something that stuck with me because as Representative Williams was talking about her care story during the pandemic, it definitely brought me back to my own when our care infrastructure collapsed. And like so many moms, I was literally working and parenting at the same time. And the VP had brought women leaders together to talk about how we would get investments in care done in the American Rescue Plan. And I remember I was so excited because for the first time I was going to get to say Madam Vice President out loud. And as I was opening my mouth to speak, my kid runs in the room with an urgent math question. It was very urgent. It had something to do with why there were negative numbers. But the point is, I sat there worried for a minute in my heart, and the VP looked at me and said, "This is what parents all over this country are doing." And I knew and understood that she was ready to fight for care. And you may remember that she cast that tie-breaking vote to get the American Rescue Plan over the finish line. So we all have these moments that stick with us, that remind us that she sees care workers, she sees caregivers, and that is what will make a difference. This is our time. I believe we can do this. I believe we can go hard these next days for the VP and for Governor Walz, because I'm confident that they will race forward for all of us. And in doing so, she will listen to and respect care workers. And it's our task to ensure that their pay and that their working conditions match the actual dignity of the work. And actually, I'm so proud that we have a chance to model that, what that could look like tonight. So tonight, we're going to have a chance to hear from care workers on this call. We're going to get to hear from home care workers. We're going to get to hear from child care workers, domestic workers, who are all here today showing up for Harris because they know she'll show up for us. And so we're going to start, and I am so honored to introduce you with Gina Hamilton, who is a proud SEIU member from San Bernardino, California. Gina?
Hi, I'm Gina Hamilton, a licensed family child care provider from San Bernardino, California. I'm also a proud member of SEIU, Local 99, CCPU. I'm thrilled to rally with all of you for care. I'm excited to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I believe the American dream is spoken in volume through Kamala Harris. It's powerful to see a strong woman, a powerful woman, a passionate woman leading with such compassion and pride. It does something for me. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz believe that care jobs should be good union jobs. They are all in for us and care for us. care is so important to me because I'm raising the next generation and helping build our nation. One thing that keeps me up, well, one of the things that keeps me up at night is so many families miss out on quality care, early education that I and so many other providers that I know provide. I just buried my mom the 7th of August. So I understand I understand firsthand how hard it is to navigate the system for quality care. I had to fight for my mother to die with dignity and respect, right? So I fight for the kids every day. I fight for not only for the kids, but for the parents. I'm not a babysitter. I'm an emotional supporter. I'm an educator, you know, and not just for the children, but for mommy and daddy too. Because, mommy and daddy have bad days too, just like the children. We need to honor our elders who paved the way and build a better future for our kids, who's our next generation. From childcare to elder care, I know that when we organize, we can improve our lives and the lives of those we care for. The best way to achieve is with leaders like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They walk the walk and they talk the talk. And I feel that they will make sure all care jobs are good union jobs and are committed to fair pay for who does this crucial work. When Kamala Harris and Tim Walz say, when we fight, we win, yeah, they speak in true language. They know my language. They know our union language. They ready to make a difference. Together, let's get it. Let's get out there and make this happen. Let's do it together in unity and solidarity, because ain't no fight like a child care fight, and a child care fight won't stop.
That is right, Gina. A childcare fight will not stop.
Won't stop.
Thank you so much. Whew, got so much energy from you. And thank you for sharing your story and for everything you do every day to lift so many people up. It is so powerful. And now I have the great honor of sharing a video of my friend, Adi Barkan, who we lost less than a year ago from complications related to ALS. Before he died, he sat down with Vice President Harris to talk about why these issues are so important to him. And then after the video, we'll get to hear from Izzy Barrios, one of the members of his incredible team of caregivers.
Since my diagnosis, I have been thinking a lot about my legacy. I'm curious, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be remembered as having lifted the quality of life and circumstances of everyone, and in particular those who historically have been outside the access to resources and power and opportunity. I want to know that my life has been about actually having impact.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ismar Barrios. I'm here on behalf of the Be a Hero organization, a healthcare advocacy organization co-founded by Adi Barkan. I was one of Adi's team of 9 caregivers and worked with him, Rachel, Carl, and Willow for 4 years. Adi had ALS and had to have a tube put in his windpipe so that a ventilator could help him breathe. So Adi would require 24-hour care. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, one of us was there suctioning his secretions, changing the tubes, connecting his ventilator, and bathing and dressing Adi, and administering meals through his feeding tube. We would make countless trips in the red van to take Carl and Willow to school, take them to the park, school event, and after-school activities, and so much more. Adi told us on Labor Day that our work as caregivers had made the last few years in his life possible. I feel lucky to have been a part of that, to have served as an extension of him. I feel lucky to have helped him to continue his urgent work, to continue being a parent to Carl and Willow, and a partner to Rachel, and so much more. I'm here today because that work with Adi changed my life. The truth is, before meeting Adi, I sometimes felt hesitant to talk about my work because too many people don't value or understand the importance of caregivers. I stand proud saying I am a caregiver. As a caregiver, I am excited about this election because we will have leaders that know firsthand what it's like to care for and love somebody with disabilities. With Kamala and Walz in this race, I'm feeling hopeful. As you just saw in the video from 2020 with Audie and Vice President Harris, hopeful that people won't have to choose between work and caring for their loved one. Hopeful that paid leave when sick or caring for a loved one will soon be accessible to all. Hopeful because we will have leaders who understand our economy runs on care. If Audie was still here, he would be on the front lines doing anything he could to make sure that Harris and Walz take its wins in November. So let's come together and vote Kamala Harris and Walz because care can't wait. Care can't wait.
Much, Izzy. And we're going to hear from more care workers tonight, which I'm so excited about, including Emma Biggs, who's coming up soon. But before we bring Emma on, we have a very special guest with us. We've heard and read a lot about Vice President Harris, but we wanted to have someone who has worked really closely with her for many years and knows her personally to just come and share with us why she supports Vice President Harris as our next president of the United States. Please help me welcome someone who knows a lot about care and care work, United States Senator from the great state of California, my friend Laphonza Butler.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ijen. Thank you to everyone who's joining. There's probably 15 other things that you all could be doing tonight, but choosing to be a part of this organizing call, this virtual rally, this call to action, because care can't wait, is probably one of the most important things that I know I will do or could be doing. You know, it's interesting, Ijen, as I've been listening to the stories of caregivers, the experiences of advocates, those who have worked with and gotten a chance to meet the vice president. And I heard Jamie talk about the vice president sitting at her kitchen table. It reminded me of the sort of my first meeting of the vice president. She was running for Attorney General. I happened to have the privilege at the time of leading California's largest caregiver union, and she wanted to come down and ask me how she could earn the members of SEIU Local 2015's endorsement in that race. The first thing I said to her that she had to do, which was critical, has been critical to SEIU's endorsement, is what we call a walk a day in the shoes. And Vice President Harris, then District Attorney Kamala Harris, actually spent the day in the shoes of a home care worker in Oakland, California by the name of Wendy Coe. She has been at more kitchen tables of caregivers than is probably known or reported. And that is because she is not new to care, to understanding how important care is. She spent the day supporting Wendy in her work, providing care to an Oakland resident living with disabilities in their community. And so being able to see her do that, show up, take off her jacket, roll up her sleeves, and do the work side by side with Wendy is a reminder that this is not just about kitchen table conversations for Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. This is about real people. This isn't about policies that are words on a page. This truly is about how do those policies impact and uplift the lives of everyday people who often go invisible to the people around them, invisible to the healthcare system to which they are great contributors, invisible to our economy as parents are able to go to work. There are so many ways in which our society sort of sees or chooses to not see caregivers who really do keep our society moving forward. But we know in Vice President Harris and Governor Walz that not only do they know the work intimately, but they see the people who are doing it. And that is the opportunity that we have in this moment to elect a ticket of champions, to elect a ticket of advocates, to elect a ticket of leaders who are knowledgeable, who are compassionate, and who are committed and dedicated to doing what it takes to lead our governmental infrastructure into the space of care, understanding that care is a critical part of the infrastructure of our country. You know, when my daughter has similar to Fatima and the other stories that were shared, we also did kindergarten at the kitchen table. My daughter has had the privilege of her life of knowing the vice president since she was a baby. And as I was talking to Nyla about what was happening when the incredibly courageous step of President Biden to pass the torch to Vice President Harris, my daughter's first response was, ask Ms. Kamala if I could be her vice president. And I was able to say to my daughter that Ms. Kamala was running for president so that she could one day run for president. And isn't that the kind of leader that we want for our children, to be able to aspire to imagine themselves being, to be able to imagine walking a day in their shoes? And we have that kind of leader, that kind of ticket in front of us, one who our children can admire and idolize, and one who cares about the health and fate of our elderly, and who know that the workers at the center of that care are essential parts of our community. I've given you all story after story. Let me just end with one more. And it is a story that the vice president shared with me as we were beginning our friendship. She also was taking care of her mother, who was, as had been noted, dying of cancer, where she herself was working as her mother's caregiver, unpaid, but there every single day, making the kinds of sacrifices that so many caregivers are making each and every day. And that story, you know, as she was doing that work, she and I would actually talk often. And she said to me once, you know, Laphonza, this is probably one of the most important jobs I'll have. She said, I can go on and do many incredible things, but the time that I get to spend ensuring that my mother is able to live with dignity in the home and community that she knows and that she finds safe is the most important, but the hardest thing that I will ever do. That is the leader that we have the opportunity to work for. That is the leader for the next 80-something days that we all will run through walls for, because that is what is going to be required of us to win on November 5th. They are going to call her every name in the book they already have. They're going to try to bully her into taking positions that she never took. They already have started. They are going to call her every name. They are going to tell everyone that she has locked up and arrested and done all and any imaginable thing that we can do. But what our job is not only to organize in these calls, but caregivers, we have to be the hands at her back, pushing her to accomplish, to keep and to continue to walk forward, because she's walking forward for the dignity of her mother. She's walking forward for the future of my daughter. She is walking forward for the livelihood of Wendy Coe. And all of those folks embodied in every single one of us who are here tonight. Let's make a commitment tonight that we are going to be the hands at her back, as we are the fingers that are sending text messages, as we are the knuckles that are knocking on doors, as we are the folks who are making those phone calls. We will be the hand at her back. We will be the organizing force in this campaign. And I know that this is the community that is going to make the incredible difference, because we know that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz understand very deeply and very sincerely that care can't wait. So thank you, Ives, and everyone for joining tonight's call, for putting us all together in this incredible network, for helping us feel our collective power as we go and try to do the extraordinary thing, electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the presidency and the vice presidency of the United States.
Good evening. My name is Emma Biggs, and I am a Child Care Center Director in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been an early childhood educator for over 27 years. I've entered this workforce out of need for childcare. I earned just a few pennies too much as a manager at a local grocery store chain, and I lost my childcare voucher as a single mother. I gained 50 cents, but I lost so much more. Thankfully, my son's childcare center gave me an opportunity and a chance and a future that has delivered 27 years of love, passion, and advocacy for my children, teachers, and my families. However, those 27 years have not passed without challenges. Prior to the pandemic, this industry was hanging by a thread. During the pandemic, the rest of the country saw our essential value, although we've always known that we are essential. We provided safe and nurturing spaces for parents to take their children so that they could go to work. This is why we say that we are the workforce behind the workforce. The pandemic turned our systems upside down. We were worried about our children, our families, and many who were essential workers working in spaces such as hospitals and nursing homes. And we were worried about ourselves and our families. But we adapted to masking, taking new measures with an overwhelming sense of insecurity. But as a result, we received emergency funding to help keep our doors open and our centers staffed. And yes, we were able to keep the doors open, but the funding helped to only keep us at bay. The funding, with or without a pandemic, was desperately needed. Now, this year, we are facing permanent loss of this funding in North Carolina. We have witnessed skyrocketing rents, expenses, groceries, and more. North Carolina is facing a loss of approximately 92,000 children within a year if our legislator does not act now. And this is a reality facing the rest of our nation. Childcare in America is now considered the new pandemic. So what happens when our centers close their doors? This is why we need leadership that understands the importance of a strong care economy. Tomorrow, Vice President Kamala Harris will stop by my state to lay out her economic agenda. It's her 8th time visiting North Carolina, and it's a reminder to me and to my colleagues that this state, that we are being listened to. Vice President Harris sees us. She empathizes with us. She has her own care story and grew up in an immigrant family herself. Childcare providers and early educators see themselves represented in leaders like Vice President Harris, and I'm incredibly proud to be taking this to the ballot box in November.
Thank you so much, Emma, for everything you do, and we're so proud to have you with us tonight and in this movement. We heard from Senator Butler about Vice President Harris's incredible history on these issues. And coming up next, we're going to hear from someone from Governor Walz's home state of Minnesota about his extraordinary record of care accomplishments, and you will be blown away. But before Dorian starts, I just want to give you a little sneak preview of who's coming up after. We are so excited to be joined by the rock star trio behind the hit podcast, We Can Do Hard Things, and they are so much more than just the trio behind that podcast. We're so excited to welcome Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach, and Amanda Doyle. And then after the trio, we're going to have the extraordinary Mayor Regina Romero from Tucson, Arizona. We have Janessa Goldbeck joining us, and woo, it keeps getting better. We have brilliant actor, caregiver extraordinaire, Brandy Evans coming up. So much greatness to come. And now let's welcome Doran Schrantz, brilliant lifelong community organizer from Governor Walz's home state, the great state of Minnesota.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Doran, and I am a longtime organizer in Minnesota. I'm a founding director of an organization called Faith in Minnesota. I'm a mom. I'm also a daughter. I've taken care of an aging and dying parent. And these are the kinds of stories that we heard all across our state over the last 15 years. And so care from birth to death became a centerpiece of our work. And we launched our Minnesotans for Paid Family Leave campaign in 2014. We've organized a movement called Kids Count on Us that has 500 community-based childcare centers. And we have been working for dignity for teachers, respect for providers, and affordable and loving care for families all across our state. But I am here to tell you about Governor Tim Walz. So he also has barnstormed our state, and he has been in living rooms and at kitchen tables. And when he ran for governor in 2018, he heard stories all across the state. He was a 5-time congressperson, and he has his own deeply personal experiences that you've heard about how we care for each other. And Governor Walz in 2018 ran on care. He ran on paid family and medical leave. He put childcare, affordable childcare, at the center of his agenda. He ran on making sure home care workers and workers for in nursing homes could fight for a union. He had the policy agenda that centered these experiences in our lives. But I think what's most important to understand about Governor Walz is it wasn't just a policy agenda. He made sure that he was sitting day by day in childcare centers. He did a walk a day with home care workers. He sat at tables, he sat in meetings in town halls, and made sure that he was in relationship with people all across the state around these issues. And then when he won in 2018, that is how he governed. So he created the Children's Cabinet, and then we all rolled up our sleeves to fight side by side to make Minnesota the best state to raise a family. And during COVID, he was on the front lines in childcare centers. He made sure that the American Rescue Plan dollars went for raises for teachers and direct grants to childcare centers. He made sure that it went directly to home care workers. And then when we ended up with a 1-vote Senate majority of Democratic control of our legislature, he did not pause for a second. At that moment, a lot of people have seen this quote from him where he said, "You don't store up political capital. When you can burn it, you burn it." He said it better than I do. And when he did that press conference in front of the entire press corps, the Chamber of Commerce, all these people, and it's like, no, we are going to get this stuff done. And one of the first 10 bills that came out of the Minnesota State House and State Senate was paid family and medical leave, one of the most progressive in the country, moving $1 billion for childcare to make it more affordable, the most progressive child tax credit for a state. He took on the nursing home profiteers and worked hand in hand with SEIU to ensure an industry standards board for nursing home workers in our state. And the list goes on and on and on. And he does all of this in partnership with organizers, with families, with workers. We strategized together. He knows he can't do anything alone. And so what I think we have to understand about a Kamala Harris and Tim Walz administration is that what is possible for us is hard to overstate. They are going, once they win, they are going to, and Tim Walz, for those of us in Minnesota, we want to make sure that we bring the Minnesota Miracle to every single American family across this country. And that's what's possible for us. And they need all of us to knock those doors and text and do all the things that we can do to make them win. But what's even perhaps more important is the day after the election, all of us need to keep fighting in our states on the ground because they're going to need partners to make this happen in DC. So I am so excited to be here, and let's get this done.
Hi, y'all. My name's Abby Wambach. This is Glennon Doyle, my wife, and you see in the other box, Amanda Doyle. We are coming to you from We Can Do Hard Things, our podcast. And boy, can we do hard things. Honey, why don't you take it away for us?
Okay, I am so excited to be on this call with these particular heroes. Every single person that speaks makes me more excited. I actually showered before this so I would look nice, and now I'm sweating. I'm just sweating with excitement and hope. And I was talking to Abby about how a month ago, I was like a Grinch. I was a Grinch. I was in my sad little cave. I was curled up with my dog and my bitter little heart. And I was just ruminating about our country. And I was feeling hopeless and just going deader and deader inside. And then the Kamala Harris announcement was made, and the hope just started like rumbling.
Yes.
And the people started gathering like out of the woodwork, and then the cheering and the singing and the Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, and then the rallies. And then I just feel like my heart has been growing 3 sizes every single damn day. And I'm so grateful that so many of us still believe in love and justice and freedom and kindness. And of all the 4 billion Zooms that I've been on in the last few weeks, this is the one that I'm most grateful to be on, because this American moment is really just all about care.
Mm-hmm.
I am the daughter of 2, my sister and I are both the daughters of 2 public school teachers, and I began my career as a 3rd grade and then preschool teacher. And I had to quit teaching after having my 2nd baby because I literally could not afford to teach and pay for childcare. And I like my job now. I love working with you both, but I do miss teaching often, because as hard as it was, I always knew every second of the day that I was doing the most important work in the world, that I was using my time and my energy and my talent to care for others. And what I know, what my parents taught me, what I learn every single day, is that it's not the billionaires and the tech bros that make American families and schools and homes and communities thrive. And that if the weird guys win, they will just have the Musks of the world in their ears, and they will do whatever it takes to protect them and to serve them. But I know that when Harris and Walz win, they will have the Ives-Rublees of the world in their ear. They will have the people that are on this call in their ears. And so they will continue building the infrastructure in America that so many other countries already have, the kind of infrastructure that honors and serves the most essential and honorable among us, the real American heroes, the care workers. And sister, you're the smartest person I know and the person we care about the most in the world. So can you say some things that are smart now? Thank you.
Thank you, sister. What an honor to be here with this group. It is so energizing and so beautiful. I'm deeply grateful and honored. I was thinking about how it has been proposed that calls to enact policies of care is an idealistic pipe dream for those who are too liberal or too soft, who think it's possible. And I think it's interesting to think about an institution that has not typically been accused of being too soft or too liberal, and that is the United States military. The U.S. military has enacted a policy of care in which military families have access to universal childcare. It is affordable, it is subsidized, so families can access it even if they can't pay for it. And the reason the military does this, it's not because they're trying to win political points. It's not because they're trying to be sweet. They do it because it's mission critical. The DoD invests $1 billion a year because it has determined that childcare is essential for military readiness and therefore mission critical. Because they know, as our beloved Ijempu says, care is the work that makes everything else possible. The military has recognized, budgeted, and built a policy of care around that reality. And yet we as a nation stubbornly refuse to admit that at every level of our national fabric, care is mission critical. We don't admit that because if we did, we'd have to budget instead of exploit. Jessica Calarco said other countries have social safety nets. The US has women. So we exploit, overwhelmingly women of color, so that the home health care worker lives on an average of $21,000 a year, so that 1 out of every 4 moms has to go back to work within 2 weeks of having a baby, so that more than half of us in our 40s are doing an invisible second shift caring for young children and then a third caring for aging parents, so that the people that we're counting on to take care of our families cannot take care of their own. It is time and beyond time to give up the sham of denial and to have an intellectually honest accounting of how the world works. The world works and our individual worlds work to the extent that care works. And I am so honored that we are here today rallying and organizing and caring for Vice President Kamala Harris, who as a senator was the lead sponsor of the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights in the Senate. Because we deserve, and we need leaders who are smart enough to live in and budget for the reality that care is mission critical. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That's absolutely right, what you've said. My name is Regina Romero. I'm the mayor of the city of Tucson, Arizona. And muy buenas noches a las personas que están con nosotros, que hablan español, inglés. I am the daughter of immigrant farm workers and first in my family to go to college and graduate, first in my family to vote. It's been an incredible ride, and I've seen firsthand how my mother had to not work to provide care for the 6 children that she had, but also when she did have to go back to work because of our household needing that additional money, she would either leave us alone or leave us with neighbors or take us with her to the fields, and we would stay in the car. And I thought, I'm never going to do that when I have my kids. But when I had my children, I was on the Tucson City Council, and there was no paid leave. There was no paid leave. I had my daughter, my second child, as a council member, and I decided to stay home 3 months and do my council meetings from home. But I had to stay at home using my vacation time and my sick time, and I had to go without pay for at least 2 months. And being not independently wealthy, my husband and I, we felt it. But that was a choice, and a choice that I wanted to make. When I became mayor, that was one of the first things that I wanted to move on, parental leave at a city of Tucson. And we passed a 6-week parental leave policy, family leave policy. And just recently, that was six weeks of paid leave. Just recently, we extended it to 12 weeks of paid family leave so that parents, new parents wouldn't have to worry about making that decision. Every single person, every single family needs a caregiver, either a child caregiver or a caregiver that will help us with our parents, that will help us with our differently abled siblings. And it is nothing out of this world wide. We can plan it. We can make sure that we budget it. And now that my children are in their teens, I have a 92-year-old mother. And thanks to my siblings, we all take care of our 92-year-old mother. But also thanks to the Affordable Care Act and access and different programs that help elderly here in Arizona, we can pay for a caregiver for my mom too. And she makes a living wage, and we treat her as well as we possibly can because she is caring for our mother. And it is very, very important to make sure that we recognize the needs of families and what can help us make sure that we're contributing to the economy, but also contributing to the lives of our children and our parents. We all deserve access to high quality, affordable childcare. We all deserve access to dignified care for our parents. We all deserve paid family and medical leave. We have to support our family caregivers and make sure that they're good, well-paying jobs. I know that Vice President Kamala Harris has fought for and introduced the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. I know that as Vice President, she has fought for the investment in our children. She has fought for and will continue to fight for fair wages and worker protections and the ability to unionize. They will continue to fight for affordable childcare, and they will continue to make a difference in our country. So we need to fight for the Harris-Walz ticket. And we need to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we elect Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, who have demonstrated in every step of their leadership, have demonstrated that they care for working families. I am the daughter of immigrants. Kamala is the daughter of immigrants. She had to fight hard, work her way through college. She absolutely understands what it means to be in a family and have to work day in, day out to be able to go to college, to work, to feed the family. So she will definitely carry her experience as the first female president of this country, and we have to do everything we possibly can. And remember how Vice President Harris says, right? She says, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. And how I take that to be is not really putting on our gloves to fight. It really is about putting on our tennis shoes to canvas. It really is about putting our needs aside for the next 83 days and making sure that we're fighting every single day, making those phone calls, canvassing, writing those postcards to infrequent voters to make sure that we have a president and a vice president that care for our care agenda, that will fight for our care agenda. Muchísimas gracias, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janessa Goldbeck. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, and I'm with Vote Vets. My care story begins like this. When I was in my 20s, my entire world shattered. My mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and early onset Alzheimer's. At the time, I was on active duty as a Marine officer stationed on the East Coast, and her condition began to rapidly decline. As an only child, I knew I had to return home to San Diego to take care of her, but balancing my military service and my mom's care was really overwhelming, emotionally, physically, financially. I know so many people share that story. Between my military pay and my mom's pension, she was a retired public school teacher, we were able to meet the cost of her care, but just barely. We were able to scrape by, but so many Americans are not as fortunate. Here in San Diego, where I live now, nearly half of our seniors can't afford basic needs, let alone long-term care like a nursing home or a home health aide. And by 2030, we know that 20% of Americans will be 65 or older, and more than half will need some form of long-term care. No American should have to live in fear of what will happen to them in their old age, or if they become seriously ill, or how they will afford care for a loved one. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz understand this struggle deeply because they've both lived it. That's why Vice President Harris has been such a relentless advocate for care issues, leading the charge in the Senate and as a champion for the Biden-Harris administration's care agenda. Her platform for president includes the strongest paid leave proposal ever. I can't even begin to imagine the relief her proposals would bring to so many families like mine, military families, veterans, and everyone in the United States. My mom, Paula Goldbeck, was an incredible person. I know she would have been thrilled to get out the vote for Kamala Harris because of who she is, what she's done, and what she will do for our country. It's time to face the care crisis head on, and we can do that by electing Vice President Harris as our next president of the United States. Thank you so much, and Semper Fi.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Good evening. I am Brandy Evans and I'm a caregiver and actor. I'm so beyond excited to be on this call to find out that President Harris, Vice President, y'all, I've been practicing what I'm gonna call her, okay, on November 5th. But okay, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have been and our caregivers makes me feel safe knowing that we have people that are truly advocating for us. Though many people know me as an actor, being a caregiver to my mama, Diana Harrington, is my utmost priority. My mom has secondary progressive multiple sclerosis and early onset Alzheimer's. She is now in need of 24-hour total care. Before I was an actor, I was a full-time and the only caregiver for my mom, so I understand how hard it is mentally, physically, and especially financially to take on this task. I understand how difficult it becomes when you have to choose between work and care. And if you're like me, my mama will always come first. Family is first. I don't want to have to choose between taking care of my mama and losing my job. As a matter of fact, I booked the TV show that I'm on now while watching my mama on a camera. I couldn't afford caregivers. I didn't have anything coming in at that time, so I had to do what I had to do because I knew I needed to make mama's life better. I went to that audition and I left her on camera. I fed her early and I was like, I gave her enough food to make it through the audition. I watched her, I drove home. And we made it. But that is not everyone in America's story. That is not the majority of the world's story. And I don't want people to have to deal with what I had to deal with. I know that Kamala Harris as president, with Kamala Harris as the president, family members won't have to risk their loved one's safety to go to work. To be completely transparent right now, it's costing me $9,000 a month. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now filming my TV show. It is $9,000 just to care for her. That is not food. That is not anything else. That is just paying my caregivers what they deserve. And still, I feel like I don't pay them enough. They need more, but I don't have it. So I'm so excited with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz coming along and giving us hope. I feel like I finally have hope. And I donated $100 today, which I have never done in the history of my voting. I woke up today and was like, baby, we're going to get on this campaign hardcore this time. Also, about every dime that I make is going to caregiving. But what about the people that don't have that money, y'all? I was a high school English teacher before this. There are people that aren't teachers. There are people that don't even have the opportunity to go to work because they're too busy trying to care for their disabled children, the elderly, anything. Care is care. Their children, disabled, elderly, it's all care. And some of us are going to deal with it before we know. I didn't think about this either when my grandmother was taking me to a nursing home when I was younger. It didn't hit me until now I have to care for mama. Oh my gosh, it's gonna hit you, y'all. So even if it's not your life now, just know it can become your life. when I get off of this call, I have to go pack and rush because one of my caregivers resigned. Why? Because she can't afford to live in Los Angeles, California right now. It's expensive. And I hate that I have to lose what a wonderful caregiver because it's not enough for her to sustain life. So I got to rush back home and try to save my job as well and take care of my mother. Caregivers need to be paid more. We also need to have paid leave. We all know you can't be in two places at one time. Care needs to be more visible. And the vice president is not just talking about it, she's about that life. Okay, she has been a caregiver. And the governor, he is a caregiver. He's caring for his son when he gets off of work every day. He's just like us. She still uplifts, Vice President Harris still uplifts the caregivers, and she knows what it takes because she has lived it. We need someone who respects the elderly, who respects children, who respects the disabled, who respects care workers. Kamala Harris will and does. November 5th, make sure you vote Harris and Walz because care can't wait. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, Brandy, and thank you also to everyone who is here with us today, who shared remarks, who shared stories right now and shares stories with leaders over time, who is sharing joy and inspiration tonight. We have been hearing that our nation, our families, our caregivers desperately need Vice President Kamala Harris to win the presidency so we can say President Harris and with joy. And in order to do that, we need to contribute to her campaign. We have launched tonight carewins.org. And whether your donation is $5 or $500, every contribution counts because we're adding them all up together through CareWins to let our leaders know that we care about care and we care about victory. You can donate $5, $500, $5 bazillion, 5 cents, whatever you're able through carewins.org now so that all of our contributions can rise together. Please take a moment to contribute what you can, carewins.org. Now, it is my great honor to introduce another true champion, a person who makes things happen, a person who lifts our nation, U.S. Senator Cory Booker. The caregiving community has an incredible champion in New Jersey Senator Booker. A powerful, persuasive leader who's working to expand the child tax credit, pass the Working Families Child Tax Relief Act, make child care and health care affordable, pass paid family medical leave, improve maternal health equity, and improve health care overall, and so much more. We are thrilled that Senator Booker is here with us this evening. Let's give him a giant round of applause virtually from wherever you are. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to be in this circle of love. Folks who understand what it is to create a more beloved community. The heart and the spirit that I've heard and been listening to, the speakers, the incredible courage. I just feel myself lifted. In many ways, I came on to try to get people hyped up, but I am feeling my heart expand and my spirit rise. Let me tell you, I have lived for the last 25 years of my life in Newark, New Jersey. I'm so proud of that. In my community, we don't mistake wealth with worth. And yet I've seen how the injustice of the lack of caregiving community and strength really is. I've seen people who live in my community who are not making a living wage, who are caregiving workers. And I've seen families who have children with complex medical conditions, developmentally disabled, or people who have elders who lose their jobs because they have no hope of finding people that can take care of their children, or the elders who face insurmountable financial obstacles just trying to give their families the dignity that they deserve. This should not be a conversation the richest nation on the planet Earth should be having. And we should not be exploiting workers who are the most vital workers when it comes to us being the society who we say we are. I will tell you my own story. My father had Parkinson's disease and eventually went into Parkinson's dementia. And I watched the impact it had on his primary caregiver at the time, who was my mother. You know, when family members take care of other family members, it is physically demanding. It is financially demanding, and it is so emotionally demanding. I remember the first time going home and being there to take care of my father. First time I had to take him to the bathroom. First time I had to lift him from his bed. These were times for me that were an awakening of what so many Americans are dealing with when they are faced with the challenge of having to step up and be caregivers. And we realized that if it wasn't for so many people who were stepping up and being caregivers, if the government had to do that, the costs would be incredible. Look, we have to step up into this void of love. We have to step up amidst this poverty of empathy, this poverty of compassion, this poverty of policy. And this is why I'm so encouraged by Kamala Harris. I know her. I've worked with her for years. And she's somebody that has such an expansive heart, understands these issues intuitively, and is actually determined to do something about it as the President of the United States of America. Look, you cannot lead the people if you don't love the people, all the people. And I'm really worried about us having someone in the highest office in the land who not only doesn't show love, he demeans and degrades people with disabilities. He attacks people in their personal vulnerabilities. He indiscriminately makes fun of people and tries to tear them down. Well, I'm looking forward to supporting Kamala Harris because she lifts folks up. But ultimately, we're a democracy, and the power of the people is greater than the people in power. That's why circles like this, where we come together, we pool our energy and our spirit, and we take actions in this election to empower our politicians to win, people that will have our backs, the people that will bring love to the job, and the people that will pass policies to make a difference in the lives of millions. Thank you, everyone, for being on here. We must, in our country, create a more beloved community. We must support the workers that are vital to our nation, and we must support those who are caregivers for our loved ones. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Senator Booker, for the incredible leadership and love and care you bring to your role as a senator. We are so lucky to have you in the United States Senate. Our next set of speakers is super exciting. We have with us actors, writers, producers, caregiver advocates extraordinaire, Seth and Lauren Miller Rogan. They've been such an important part of building this movement for care, and I'm so excited you'll get to hear from them. After Seth and Lauren, you're also going to hear from an extraordinary leader in our movement for disability justice, Mia Ives-Rublee. And then we are going to welcome the legendary fierce advocate for moms and lifelong leader for women's equality, Reshma Saujani.
Hi, I'm Lauren Miller Rogan.
And I'm Seth Rogan, and this is Ada Rogan.
We are so very happy to be joining you today to talk about how excited we are about Vice President Harris and Governor Walz becoming our next president and vice president. They are true champions of care, and as Alzheimer's and dementia advocates ourselves, we know how important care is to our society. Unfortunately, dementia has been a part of my life since I was very young. My grandfather was diagnosed before I can remember and passed away when I was 12, and he was in his early 70s. For the most part, I was too young to understand what my mom and grandmother were going through as they cared for him. I saw him move from care home to care home and remember thinking that none of those places felt much like home to me. A few years after that, my grandmother, who was in her mid-70s, was diagnosed with dementia. She lived in a lovely care home not too far from my house, and in the 3 years that followed her diagnosis, I watched her become a shell of herself as my mom cared for her daily. My mom, a teacher for 35 years, would go every day to check in on her mother to feed her, bathe her, and make sure she felt loved. She passed away when I was 18, and she was in her mid-70s. Unfortunately, it was only 4 years after that that my mom started repeating herself. She was only 52 at the time, and I was 22. I tried to fight the thought that dementia had come from my mom too, because she was so young, too young. But she wasn't, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's just before her 55th birthday.
Lauren and I first started dating around that time when I was just getting to know her family. She told me her mom was changing and that she was different than she used to be. But at first, as someone who had never really seen Alzheimer's or dementia up close, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. But over the next 5 years, I saw Lauren's mom lose the ability to talk, walk, feed, and bathe herself. In the beginning, Lauren's dad was doing everything himself, managing medications, laundry, grocery shopping, cleaning, both his home and Adele. But it became clear that if he continued doing all of this alone, the toll it was taking on him would probably cause us to lose him before we lost her.
Fortunately, our family could afford bringing care into my parents' home. We started with a few hours a week, and by the time my mom turned 60, we had full-time, round-the-clock care from angelic and heroic professional caregivers who took beautiful care of my mom. And in a way, they cared for my dad too.
As her primary caregiver, Lauren's dad, Scott, wanted to be with Lauren's mom as much as possible, but even the strongest caregivers deserve and need a break. With caregivers we could trust at their house, Scott was able to take time for himself when he needed it, whether it was a dinner out with us, a trip to the movies, or even knowing that he could go to the grocery store and Adele was safe at home. Having the help of caregivers made the close to 16-year journey we all went on with Lauren's mom so much more bearable. But our situation was only possible because we were fortunate enough to be able to afford care. And that is not the reality for millions of Americans.
As Alzheimer's and dementia advocates, we've heard hundreds of stories from caregivers who are carrying the burden of caregiving alone, who aren't able to pay for the care they wish they could provide for their loved ones. They've had to quit their jobs, drop out of school, and give up most of their lives just to simply care for their loved one. And that is not okay.
We don't want to brag, but we met with Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff 2 years ago and can tell you firsthand that he and Vice President Harris truly care about care. We discussed how no one should have to sacrifice their career, their health, and their happiness to take care of their loved one.
We believe all caregivers deserve access to paid leave when you're caring for your loved one, and Vice President Harris and Governor Walz intend to make that a reality. They've both prioritized care throughout their careers, and they don't intend to stop anytime soon.
There really are millions of caregivers out there right now, people caring for their parents, their siblings, their kids, their friends, all sacrificing pieces of themselves because previous administrations haven't done enough. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz want to change that. They want to improve your lives today, and you can do that by getting out there and voting for them on November 5th or volunteering. You can make calls, you can knock on doors, talk to neighbors. So many options.
Just vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ooh.
She's okay.
Hey, my name is Mia Ives-Rublee, and I am a civil rights activist and policy analyst. And I'm filming from the great state of Maine. I'm so glad you all decided to join the Caregivers for Harris virtual rally to support Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president. I've had the great honor of meeting with Harris on multiple occasions to discuss policy with her and her staff. And the one thing I always got from those meetings is that she listens and cares. She has been passionate about disability issues, ensuring our community is thought of in every sphere. She has always been very supportive of increasing funding for caregivers and understands how essential this funding is to ensuring disabled people, people with chronic illnesses, and seniors have the support they need to not only live, but thrive. As a disabled person who is currently receiving care due to a broken arm, and as someone preparing to take over the care of her disabled brother, I'm excited to vote for a candidate who cares about our community. With your support through donations, volunteering, and most importantly, voting, you can help elect Kamala Harris as president and ensure we get more funding to support caregivers, seniors, individuals with chronic illnesses, and disabled people.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. And I just want to start by expressing so much gratitude to Ijen and Kristen for your leadership and for the work, the tireless work that you've been doing on care. Our country literally owes a debt of gratitude to you. And so I'm so grateful to be here. I'm Reshma Saujani. I'm the founder and CEO of Moms First and the founder of Girls Who Code. But tonight I'm here in my personal capacity. I'm here as the daughter of refugees. I'm here as an educator. And I am here as a pissed off mom to 2 little boys. I have literally devoted my life to fighting for women and girls. And I saw firsthand how so many of my students at Girls Who Code after the pandemic were pushed back into poverty, pushed back into that generational cycle of poverty because they got caught in a broken structure of care. And my experience at Girls Who Code showed me that we cannot finish the fight for gender equality until we finish the fight for moms. And that means fighting for care. Here's the thing, being a mom in America has literally become untenable because we still treat moms as America's social safety net. The United States is the wealthiest nation in the world, but we invest the least amount in childcare. Childcare costs more for 2 children than it does for housing in all 50 states. And 40% of parents are in debt because of the cost of childcare. The United States remains the only industrialized nation without paid leave, and 1 out of 4 women go back to work just 2 weeks after having a baby. The reality is these issues matter to families' bottom line. As families are doing their accounting and they're thinking about all the things that are putting them into bankruptcy, it's childcare at the end of the day that is putting them into poverty. And so we need leaders who understand care. We need leaders who are going to run on care. We need leaders who truly understand the plight of parents and moms and working families. And we could not have asked for a better champion of care than Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. I literally think they are the dream ticket. They know that these economic issues are sensible and they're popular, and they know that 85% of voters on both sides of the aisle support paid family leave and want candidates to have a plan for affordable childcare. Vice President Harris, as a woman, as a mom, as the daughter of a single mom, understands these issues personally. And I know from my personal experience and working with her for years and working with Governor Walz that they will work tirelessly to get paid leave and affordable childcare over the finish line. Let me be blunt. It feels like the barbarians are at the gate. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will ensure that the next 4 years and more will be hellish for families and women. Protecting our country from their demolition derby is a tall order, but I have no doubt that Vice President Harris will lead us there. She knows that this is going to be a long and hard fight, and she's ready. But because she's ready, we need to be ready. She needs each and every single one of us to vote, to fight, to make sure that no vote is left on the table. This is a vote for our dignity, for our children's dignity, for our parents' dignity. We cannot be complacent about what is at stake. And we cannot for even 1 second believe that we are not capable of winning. We can, we must, we will, because care can't wait. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you so much, Reshma. There are 94 million mom voters in America, and together we all can mom the vote for Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. I'm so excited for the day we achieve victory. Now, before we jump back in with some super celebrities and powerful leaders who are standing, speaking, and working for Harris every single day, we want to lift again how you can help right now by contributing through carewins.org. It's up and it's ready for you to use to donate directly. 100% of your donation goes to Vice President Kamala Harris. It is important to show our power together, whether it's $10, $100, or 100 trillion bazillion dollars. Yes, I made up that number. Our contributions add up to help create the change we need. Now, without further delay, back.
Hey there, my name is Kira Sedgwick, and in the last several years, I have lost two fathers, and I watched in awe how the doctors and caregivers helped to walk through my family, as well as my dad's, through the various stages of loss and sickness. As a daughter and a mom, I support the Harris-Walz ticket because they care about families. As Vice President, Kamala Harris fought for childcare and paid family leaves. She knows how important our families are to us, and she knows how hard it is for most people just to survive and make ends meet. It doesn't have to be this way. CARE's on the ballot this November, as well as empathy. Our future is on the ballot. So caregivers, let's come together to make sure that the Harris-Walz ticket wins.
There's a lot of excitement on this call, and I think we all know why. Hi there, I'm Lisa Givens, and like many of you, I work as an advocate for caregiver issues, and as a caregiver for my mom and grandmom, who are now both gone, and currently for my father, who is very much still here. I think I get what we need. We need someone who gets us, right? Someone who understands the caring economy, the caring culture, someone who lives it and knows it at a gut level. Someone who's made it a focus and a priority. And that's what Kamala Harris has done. She gets us. She knows that our economy works best when it works for parents and for families caring for someone they love, and for the workers who make up the caring industries. Look, her positions just make sense. Paid family and medical leave for all families, including chosen families. Golden years that truly are golden. Childcare, home and community-based care for seniors and those who are disabled. As a senior, I appreciate that she has fought for our dignity and respect in retirement. As a caregiving advocate, she's made the case for paid caregivers and non-paid family care partners. And as a woman who believes self-care includes reproductive rights, it matters to me that Kamala Harris has been steadfast in her efforts to support, defend, and return to us our agency over our own bodies. We know this is our moment. CARE can't wait, and CARE is on the ballot.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dorian Warren, co-president of Community Change Action and Community Change Voters. Most importantly, I'm the proud dad of two young girls, a 3-nager and a 10-month-old, and we just got them down to bed. So as I know, parents and caregivers know, sometimes we are very excited to sneak out of their rooms for the night, grab a glass of wine. And tonight, I'm super excited knowing that I get to join all of you here and be part of making this the CARE election. Having two, not one, two champions at the top of the ticket is just huge. And of course, it didn't just happen. The people in this room collectively, the childcare providers, the parents, the caregivers, made this moment happen. And at Community Change Action, we work directly with providers and parents to build public pressure for a new vision for childcare. And we've built a direct base of early childhood educators and center owners and family care providers and parents known as childcare change makers, nearly 60,000 strong. And I say that because I want to pause and recognize many of our change makers that are on this call tonight. I can't see you in the Zoom webinar format, but I know you're here and I'm sending you lots of love. So listen, Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have been able to push forward really big wins on care because they have been willing to co-govern with caregivers on the ground. They understand that those of us who have been living this caregiving crisis are the best equipped to deliver solutions for a 21st century childcare system built on gender and racial equity. The Biden-Harris administration has actually invited childcare changemakers into the White House to learn from them. And as we just heard from Dorian earlier, Governor Walz worked closely with grassroots groups like Isaiah and Unidos Minnesota to transform their state with $1 billion investment in childcare and family services and a historic expansion of the child tax credit. It is this grassroots power that we have all been building collectively for decades. I'm looking at you, Ijen, in particular. And frankly, for as long as Black women have been shouldering the burden of care, it's this grassroots power that we all need to flex right now. So this isn't just about one election. It's about transforming our care system to work for families and communities and small business owners instead of the uber rich and corporations. And it's about electing leaders who will ensure that our caregivers are well paid, with good benefits, good union jobs, and that families have affordable childcare available in every corner of the country, in a moment where in many places childcare is more than housing and rent. So, last thing, we all know a caregiver that deserves more. And so I'm so excited to see us all come together from every zip code and around the country tonight to elect a team that will put childcare, paid family and medical leave, aging and disability care all at the top of the agenda. So CARE can't wait, and let's go. Thank you.
What a thrill and what an honor. My name is Dawn Huckelbridge. I'm the head of Paid Leave PAC. And in my day job, I'm founding director of Paid Leave for All and Paid Leave for All Action, representing dozens of groups, millions of people across the country, and a proud member of the CARE Can't Wait Action Coalition. To start, I was reminded tonight how important it is to say that when I get frustrated, when I get disillusioned with America, I do remember that she once embraced a very young Arab mother and her daughter to come into this country, to start and grow a business without speaking English, to build a family and a community. And they are the reason that I'm here today. And I am feeling hope and joy and belief in a way that I maybe had never have before. It feels like kismet, because now I hope we will leave a better, more caring world for our children. I've had two goals in my professional life: to elect a woman president and to pass paid leave in America. And I believe they very well may go hand in hand, and I know that they are within reach. I care about care because the experience of becoming a mother in America almost broke me. And what I say again and again is I was one of the luckier ones in this profoundly failing system. I had some paid family leave, not enough, but I had health insurance, supportive family. I had what was supposed to be good care. But I went back to work well before my body had healed, well before my colicky baby was sleeping at all, and it rocked me. I remember the pain and the desperation, and I just kept thinking, if it is this hard for me, how do people who go back to work within just 2 weeks of giving birth get by? How do the 3 and 4 working people in this country with no paid family leave at all through their jobs survive? And the truth is, we know now, many of them do not. But now I do have hope and I have belief. The care movement has been growing, and apparently the vibes and the vision of a country along with it. Kamala Harris was right on time, and Governor Walz as well. We are ready to build bigger community. We are ready for a culture of care. We are ready for policies that are, yes, about economic security, everyday costs, health, racial and gender equity, helping working families get by, but also policies that are just fundamentally about our shared humanity, about what unites us. So I do believe this is the care ticket. This is the care election. And this is our care future. So let's go. Thank you.
Shamala's body was giving out, but there was someone always holding her hand and telling her stories to remind them both of happier times. Her daughter Kamala had a demanding job, but you do what it takes for the people you love, for the person who raised her. Kamala's mom passed away, but in her final moments, she asked a nurse, "Are my daughters going to be okay?" That's what care looks like. It's why we do what we do every day, at work, at home, for our country. And that's why Kamala Harris is unshakable in her support for paid family and medical leave, affordable quality childcare, and home care for seniors and people with disabilities, so you can know your loved ones are going to be okay.
Such a powerful video, such powerful words. We now have another very special guest. And before we introduce them, we want to remind you that you can donate any amount, but maybe not $1 million bazillion dollars, which is a number I made up, through carewins.org to Kamala Harris right now. She needs us just as much as we need her. And again, whether your donation is $5 or $500, it all adds up together. So please contribute what you can right now through carewins.org. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, our next superstar, our next care champion, Liz Schuler. She's president of the AFL-CIO, representing 12.5 million working people. She is groundbreaking, a visionary leader, a longtime trade unionist, and yes, a care champion. It is my great honor to now introduce Liz Schuler. Welcome.
Oh, thank you a bazillion times over, Kristen. Hello, everyone. As she said, I'm Liz Schuler, president of the AFL-CIO. We're America's unions, bringing the voices of 12.5 million workers, 60 unions in our federation, and 6.5 million women. In fact, that makes the labor movement the largest organization of working women in the country. And many are workers in the care economy, and many are on this very rally tonight. So I just want to say thank you so much, Ijen. I see Dawn, I see so many leaders in the coalition and the incredible activists on this call who are sharing their stories tonight. And I've just been listening and I'm fired up because, as I listen to caregivers like Regina and Emma and so many others, it just reminds me how universal these issues are. Whether it's finding childcare or having a parent who gets sick or a loved one with a disability. I don't think there's one person in this country who hasn't experienced that in some way. And if we want to take care of the people we love, there's only one way to do that. And that is to invest in our care infrastructure and do right by our incredible workforce of caregivers that we have in this country. And we think about this. We have a generation of baby boomers who are getting older. We've got, I think it's 10,000 babies being born every day in the US. And yet we have this care crisis because as a country, we haven't treated care as critical infrastructure. And we haven't treated the work with dignity and the respect that it deserves. So we have this once in a generation chance to do something different. And the work, as Dawn said, has been building over time. So we have two choices, right? We can go back to the guy who put millions of our care workers at risk during the pandemic, the guy who picked as a running mate JD Vance, who calls us working women childless cat ladies. Some of us have dogs, for the record, JD. The guy who's running now on his Project 2025 agenda that means less access to care, higher costs, millions of people with no way to get the care that they need. But we know there's a better future out there. There is a ticket who brings a hopeful future for our country. And that's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who are making care the center of their campaign. It is so exciting because they know what families need. And they are going to fight like hell for a care agenda, paid leave, home care for seniors and people with disabilities, guaranteed access to affordable care for childcare. That is the future we all deserve. And so we can make sure every care worker is paid, protected, and valued. And we can create millions of good union jobs in care, and we can supercharge all this great work that unions like AFT and AFSCME and SEIU and partners like the Domestic Workers Alliance are doing as part of this coalition. So it's time. Caregivers can't wait. Our families can't wait. Let's get this done.
That's right, Liz. Caregivers and care, our families, our workers cannot wait. And we are going to make it happen because when we fight, we win. If ever anybody told you that care is not an economic issue, our next speaker is actually going to put it all in check. Alana Burkwitz is going to talk about what's at stake in the marketplace and for our workforce in the economy overall when it comes to this agenda. And then we're going to hear from incredible caregiver Jaclyn Joyce Revere, who's going to share her story and why she supports the Harris-Walz ticket. Alana.
Hi, I'm Alana Burkwitz. I'm a mom, a former policy wonk, and now I'm an investor in tech startups that are serving the health and caregiving needs of American families. With Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the race, obviously I'm already loving the world-class memes, but more than that, what I'm loving is actually getting to see two candidates lead with kindness, joy, intellect, and empathy. That feels really good right now. As a caregiver and as an investor in the care economy, I am so excited for this election because American families deserve universal paid family leave. We deserve universal pre-K and better access to the kind of services that'll let those we love age in place longer. Right now, 10,000 Americans turn 65 every day, and the Harris-Walz ticket is going to ensure that the infrastructure exists for them to age with dignity. And fixing our care economy and ensuring that it's strong isn't just good for our families, it's good for the economy. The United States will lose up to $290 billion a year in GDP starting in 2030 and beyond if we don't fix the cracks in our care system that'll let all of us go to work while caring for those we love. This is our time. This is our moment. Let's run through the tape. I am really looking forward to celebrating with all of you with the coconut pina colada in November. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Jaclyn Revere, creator of Mom of My Mom. I cared for both my mother and grandmother with dementia at the same time, and this experience taught me that there are so few resources and support systems in place. I love caregivers with my whole heart, and I'm here to remind you that the invisible work that you do doesn't go unseen. I see you, and now VP Harris and Governor Walz sees you as well. They both understand how urgent and important it is to invest in care, from childcare to paid leave to aging and disability care, while also creating good care jobs. So let's show that we have their back by showing up at the polls to vote. Caregivers for Harris, and care cannot wait.
And now we're going to hear from two incredible leaders in this care movement. We're going to hear from April Verrett, president of the Service Employees International Union. There are 9 million care workers working to support us, showing up every day to care for our kids, our aging parents, our disabled loved ones, and many of them are members of SEIU. So we're going to hear from April Verrett, and then we're going to hear from Dom Kelly, who is a disability rights and justice leader who is building the movement for disability rights, civil rights in the South, and a part of this growing movement that sees disability rights and justice as a part of our future, the future that really does have care and support, dignity for all of us. April Verrett, welcome.
Good evening to all of you out there rallying for care. And thank you to my good friend Ives for that incredibly warm welcome and introduction. I'm April Verrett, president of SEIU, representing 2 million service and care workers in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico. I am incredibly over the moon about the magnitude of the moment that we're in. And I am so excited to be rallying for care with all of you all today. This is the time to ignite our fires and exercise our collective power to make sure we champion the candidates who support us and the care we provide for the people we love. I know everyone here is all in for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And make no mistake about it, they are all in for us too. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have been fighting for working families, and they know that our entire economy runs on care. Vice President Harris understands the everyday struggle of caregivers, not just because of the care she provided to her own mother, but because she has actually taken the time to walk a day in the shoes of a home care worker. She walks it like she talks it, y'all. She cares about care. That's why she's led efforts to improve our long-term care system and tackle the overall care crisis. Vice President Harris helped make home care and child care more accessible for everyone who needs it and has taken the necessary steps to improve the quality of care to protect consumers against junk plans with skimpy coverage that were enabled by the Trump administration. She has introduced regulations that strengthen home care jobs and proposed rules that help support Head Start workers. Believe me when I say she leaves no one behind and leaves no one out. Her track record proves it, whether it's childcare, senior care, or caring for those with disabilities. She is committed to ensuring affordable care for all families, including military family and veteran families through federal agencies. Vice President Harris continues to fight for equal pay for equal work for Black, brown, and immigrant women, the majority of the people who do care work. In our union, we believe everyone should get the care they need and that all care jobs should be good union jobs, period, so we can meet the need of the urgent demand for care. Vice President Harris shares that same vision. She stands on business each and every day, and she's ready to go to work as our next president with Governor Tim Walz right by her side. Y'all, 81 days. That's all we got until Election Day. It is go time. Game on. Time to pop out and show them something. This election is about us. Come November, we will be voting for us. Our votes will be our demands, and care is on the ballot. So let's go win it.
Good evening. My name is Dom Kelly. I'm the co-founder and CEO of New Disabled South and New Disabled South Rising, and I'm here tonight in my personal capacity as an organizer, political strategist. I'm also a dad, a husband, and a disabled person. When I was a year old, myself and my two triplet brothers were diagnosed with cerebral palsy. My parents relied on Medicaid, home and community-based services to ensure that the three of us could get the care that we needed at our own home. My fraternal triplet brother died when we were just 6 years old, and that loss actually exacerbated our care needs. When I was 16, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and for 9 years, I was one of her caretakers until she died. A portion of that time was before the Affordable Care Act, so we had to deal with things like her life-saving cancer treatment being denied for her pre-existing condition of cancer. So now I am a father, and I'm seeing an entirely different side of care. My wife and I have not been able to access childcare due to costs and long waiting lists. So we both have to balance being entrepreneurs with juggling taking care of our amazing toddler daughter. It's not easy, even with the privilege that we have making livable incomes. So I founded New Disabled South Rising, a C4 organization fighting for disabled political power in the South to both mobilize disabled people to create change and to make sure that the people in elected leadership don't forget about disabled people. In our work, we fight for the 500,000 people with disabilities who are waiting for care in their own homes instead of institutions here in the South. We fight for the care workers who deserve a thriving wage for the life-saving work that they do every day. And in my own personal advocacy and organizing outside of my day job, I will work and will always work to elect candidates who will ensure that families like my own, with a variety of care needs, have access to that care that they're entitled to. We cannot afford for Donald Trump to return to the White House. The only way that we can continue to effectively organize and demand policies that expand access to care for everyone, especially disabled people, is to elect Vice President Harris and Governor Walz in November. I know that we can win the South too, and I know that here in Georgia, we have a path to victory, and I believe that we will win this state again, just like we did in 2020. Care literally cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dom. I know that you know the experience of the sandwich generation caregiver, and our next speaker who's joined us also knows that experience quite well. We're so excited to welcome Lisa Ling, journalist, caregiver, proud mom extraordinaire, to share some thoughts with us. Lisa, why do you think it's so important, one, that we elect Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, and why is it so important that everyone understand that care is on the ballot?
Well, Ijen, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here and to hear the stories of so many who are taking care of family members and are also sandwich caregivers like myself. I want to make this brief because it's getting late, but to all the unpaid family caregivers, sandwich caregivers, and paid caregivers who should be paid a hell of a lot more for the vital work that you do, I see you. As I said, I'm one of the 80 million sandwich caregivers in America, and for so many years, my sister and I felt so alone in caring for our father. So to hear that this election is the care election is so exciting because care impacts all of us. So this is our moment. And I just want to take a brief moment to talk about an investigation I did for CBS News recently about nursing homes after my 92-year-old mother-in-law ended up in one after a fall. The second day she was there, she was left alone in the bathroom and fell. And after she recovered, she went back and said, every day was a fight for survival. A place where people are supposed to go to recover are on so many occasions anything but. You know, we have over 1 million Americans in nursing homes right now, and that number is expected to double by 2050. There are nearly 17,000 nursing homes in America right now, and over 70% are owned by private equity. So many of these facilities have severely cut staff, so they provide suboptimal care, but yet they're recording extraordinary profits. And it is imperative that private equity companies are held accountable. And the choice is really clear when it comes to who will hold these companies accountable. The Kaiser Family Foundation recently conducted a study into the past two administrations and how they have handled these private corporations in the care business, because that's what it's become. And under the Trump administration, he issued regulations relaxing oversight for nursing facilities, including removing the requirement to employ infection preventionists, and issued guidance to delay the implementation of the setting rule, which established a delay of the implementation of protections for people using Medicaid, home and community basis. The Biden administration, on the other hand, promoted newly established minimum staffing requirements for nursing facilities, including other requirements to support nursing facility workers, and issued regulations to increase transparency. And this is so vital. These private equity companies, I mean, they are cutting staff. And again, you know, the care has become so suboptimal. There are so many people who are just literally living day to day and struggling for survival. And the Biden-Harris administration, they even issued an executive order to support long-term care workers. And so the choice couldn't be more clear of which administration is going to hold these companies that are taking care of our most beloved members of our family and may even take care of one of us one day accountable.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, because it's so true that we have not invested in the kind of caregiving systems and programs that we need. And what we have is creating a lot of unnecessary human suffering in so many parts of this country. And what an incredible thing that we have the opportunity as this generation, and literally starting in November, to transform the course of the trajectory of the future for care for so many of us and for this country, for future generations. electing Vice President Harris and Governor Walz is our path to better care and dignity and quality of life for the people we love. And I think it's so important that you are shining a light on how urgent and important that is. And what do you say to all the caregivers out there about how they can use their voices and their power in this moment?
Well, one, you're not alone, obviously, but this is our moment. This is our opportunity to elect an administration that is going to put our agendas on the very top of their list of priorities. And so frankly, this is life or death for so many. As we know, how many people are struggling under the thumb of caregiving, both the caregivers and those who are unpaid, paid caregivers and those who are unpaid, like myself, who literally spent my whole day today taking care of both my mom and trying to shuttle my kids around. And so I'm about to start my work day right now because I didn't have any time to do it today. So the choice couldn't be more clear.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for all you're doing to give voice to the care story of our country and helping us chart a new course in the future. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Ijen. Thank you, Kristen.
And now we are going to hear from Tabitha St. Bernard Jacobs from the Women's March.
It is such an honor to be here with you all, to say loudly, I'm losing my voice, and without hesitation, that we need leaders in office who prioritize care for all of us. At Women's March, we know that prioritizing care means prioritizing issues impacting women. Many women like myself are responsible for the care of someone we love. I have 2 young children. My kids are 9 and 4. When my oldest was born, I was working multiple jobs. I could barely afford childcare. I remember needing to put my son in daycare at a very young age and just crying because the daycare I could afford was simply substandard for what my son needed. Too often, caregiving is seen as only one person's or one family's responsibility, when it's actually on our government and on society to provide the type of care our loved ones need. We deserve quality care that is affirming and kind and safe for our loved ones. We need leaders who see this as an urgent issue. We're just a few months away from a critical elections where the difference can mean real change for caregivers like myself and so many other women's marchers. That's why Women's March is organizing Knock Your Block parties, where we talk to others about why voting is so important this year. It's also important to listen to the concerns of those who also want to prioritize care for not just our community, but for all communities around the globe who are impacted by America's policies. Listening with an open heart can help us realize we actually have more in common than we think. And if you're wondering when we're marching, we get this question all the time. The answer is November 2nd. After you spend the day knocking on doors, we want you to be in community with each other and march for the future we know we deserve. For more information on Knock Your Block or the Women's March, go to womensmarch.com. As we power through this election season, remember that the work is ongoing, even beyond November. We owe it to ourselves to hold our leaders accountable to their promises. And I have faith that we can do that with enthusiasm, with grace, and with a spirit of joy. Thank you to the Care Can't Wait campaign for having me on. Let's get out and do this work, y'all.
Hi, my name is Aisha Atkins.
My name is Joanne Carducci.
Hi, my name is Nicole.
My name is Mindy Schwartz.
Hi, my name is Rachel Bender.
I'm Ariana Walton-Smith.
Hi, I'm Grant Stern, and I'm with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to win in 2024.
As a single mom of 2 kids, I'm excited about this election because it means that we will once again have leaders in office who understand that it's unfair to force a mom to choose between a career and childcare like I did. No one should ever be forced to choose between doing what they love and providing for who they love. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz get it, and they are going to change it.
I'm a girl dad, and I can tell you that I'm looking forward to having paid family leave in case anybody in my family is ill, and looking forward to them passing universal preschool to take away the crushing burden from parents who have younger children.
With Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in this election, I have never been happier to hop on hour-long Zooms, okay? As a mom of two, the daughter of a veteran with stage 4 cancer, and the granddaughter of a very feisty and loving 84-year-old woman, this election means that people will not have to choose to go to work or to stay home and care for their loved ones.
From birth, I have been a recipient of care. I was born at 24 weeks gestation, weighing only 1.5 pounds, and have since lived with multiple disabilities. I'm confident that with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the White House, these are needs that can be met with enthusiasm, met with intentionality, met with care.
They understand how caregivers make such a huge difference in the lives of so many Americans. In my case, my parents were 92. They could not live on their own, but they did not feel ready to go into assisted living. So we had caregivers, some of whom spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with them for pretty low wages and had no health insurance.
As California Attorney General, Kamala Harris worked tirelessly to go up against these physician groups, hospitals, and health insurers that are actually increasing prices for chronic patients like me. So, as a person with disabilities, I am so excited about this election.
CARE is on the ballot this November.
Vote Harris-Walz.
CARE can't wait.
We have to vote.
Vote Harris-Walz.
CARE can't wait for Harris and Walz.
Thank you for spending time with us tonight. Thank you for lifting our nation. Thank you in advance for voting. Thank you for spreading the word about the long history of successful work that Vice President Kamala Harris has done in each and every position that she has held to lift, support, and advance our families and our economy. Thank you also for your contributions to Kamala Harris through carewins.org. And thank you for being part of the Text the Vote and handwritten Mom the Vote programs at momsrising.org and more. It's clear, we've heard over and over again tonight, that we need Vice President Kamala Harris to become President Harris in order to advance the tools that are necessary, including childcare, aging and disability care, paid family medical leave, and fair pay for care workers that allow us to be able to go to work, to care for our families, and to contribute to our communities. After all, this is how we win together. This is how we lift our economy. This is how we grow and bloom as a nation. And of course, she needs to win to make this happen. So every volunteer moment, every story shared, and every single dollar adds up with other dollars right now to make a huge impact in a campaign that is shorter than normal. And each dollar that you put in through carewins.org counts. When we raise all our voices, when we all organize, and when we all donate, then for sure we all win. There are going to be ups and downs along the way to November, but with persistence, insistence, joy, and hope, we can and we will win. Thank you. Back to you, Ijen.
Well, just remember, we have 81 days to win this, and we do need to win. We need the Harris-Walz ticket to win, and they really do need us to win too. Next week, Vice President Harris will be speaking at the Democratic National Convention on Thursday night. And you can host your own Caregivers for Harris watch party, bring people together, support this campaign, and then we'll do the same for debates, and we'll keep going. We'll donate, we'll organize, and we'll vote until we win. When we organize and fight, we win. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for being a part of Caregivers for Harris.